Okay, so for next season, 2018-19 season, these are always difficult for me. You know, we can't play everything in one season, but I try to find balance, and I try to find things that we haven't played, things that are new, things that are special. But here we go. Concert number 1, I'm calling Songs of Innocence and Experience. And we'll begin with Mozart, who died at the age of 35. His Symphony number 35, the Hafner, will feature Keely Brooks, who won the Young Musician competition with the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, the first movement. Then the experience comes in the second half, where we do the overture to Verdi's La Forza del Destino, and we finish with Strauss's Tod und Verklärung, Death and Transfiguration. This is the tune that John Williams stole for the Superman theme. Concert number 2, I'm calling Beethoven Boarding. We can call it B&B, but we'll start with Beethoven's Second Symphony. This is still during his very, very humorous and comical Haydn period, and in D major. Just a wonderful, refreshing piece. And then we'll finish the concert with Bourdon's Symphony number 2, his own Symphony number 2, which is quite a bit darker, of course, as you might imagine from a Russian composer. In between, we're going to feature a violin soloist. We have not yet featured a classical violin soloist, except for our young musicians, and we're going to feature Rachel Patrick. Rachel Patrick and I went to school at University of Michigan together. She now resides in San Francisco, and she's a practicing artist throughout the country, phenomenal player, and we're going to play Kevin Putz, who's, you might remember this piece that we did, This Noble Company, we had done a few years back. Well, Kevin Putz is just a wonderful composer, recently won the Pulitzer Prize for his opera Silent Night. We have this 2-movement raucous violin concerto that she will I guess essentially premiere in the Northwest. This will be the Northwest premiere. Concert number 3, I'm calling Astronomy. As you might imagine, we'll feature Hal Lott on this classical flute concerto. He's a professor of flute at CWU. Also done a number of things here in this region and at Icicle Creek. And then we'll do the planets. Yes, exactly. This is something that's this is a piece we ought to do. It's a really great piece of literature. The challenge is to find a wordless, hidden female chorus who sings in the final movement, Neptune, and we found one in the Apple Airs chorus who will sing with us with our own James Vartness as director. So looking forward to that one. And our final concert, Shakespeare in Love, April 13th. See, pieces that were inspired by Shakespeare texts. We'll do the Merry Wives of Windsor Overture. This is really just a wonderful, bubbly, effervescent kind of overture. Kind of reminds me of Die Fledermaus in a way. It has that kind of energy to it. We will do one of my favorite pieces. I probably will ask to have this piece performed at my funeral. The Vaughan Williams Serenade to Music, which draws its text from The Merchant of Venice, just an ode to music, really. We'll do the version without singers, so it'll just be a very, very lush orchestra performing this. And then we'll do this very dark film score to Hamlet by Shostakovich. Shostakovich did write many, many film scores as well as his 15 symphonies and operas. We will feature Jody Graves, who's now a professor of piano at Eastern Washington University, a Wenatchee native. She'll perform. I gave her many, many choices, and she decided that Ravel Piano Concerto in G was her favorite. This is probably most famous for its second movement, very, very plain and simply, very stately, but just gorgeous and crystalline kind of texture of the second movement. That's our season. And compared to the gigantic season of this, our previous, what we just finished with Sibelius 2 and Grofé and the Rhapsody in Blue. I feel like this is really a different kind of flavor that we're offering for this Take Note season. So I hope you enjoy. Yeah.